All the way from Leeds, Kevin Harvey has been an experienced speaker at public speaking events for over 20 years. It was only following his own experience of serious lows a couple of years ago that he decided it was time to change his life. As a qualified hypnotherapist and NLP master practitioner, he put it all together and he started to teach. He'd been taught all these subjects and he started to put it all together and combine them with over 40 years business experience, the highs and lows, to create a system, a simple system that's helped him and helped others to take small steps, to trust in themselves and their ability to get their spark back in their lives and get back on track, whatever their age, using his 2, 4, 6, 8 Motivate program. He's created, and it's making a personal development accessible for one and all. The speech entitled, "It's Never Too Late to Change Your Life." Please welcome, it's Kevin.
Can I just very quickly, before we get started, if I give you all them, can you just pass them all around and it'll all come out? You can also just take a card on there. Okay. Having a breakdown can be one of the best things that ever happens to you. And I know this personally because I've been married, I've had the big house, the nice cars, the double garage, round a lake. I've had everything I ever wanted. It was great. And a lot of that was because I read quite a lot of things about self-development, which helped me through business and everything else. And then something started to happen in my life. Can anybody here name me the 5 most stressful things that can ever happen to you? Moving house. Redundancy, losing a job. Divorce, a separation. Death, you can have a grief. The other one is having a serious injury. All 5 things happened to me in a 3-month period 2 years ago. Now, I dealt with all this with no brothers and no sisters and no children of my own. So my self-esteem and everything I've ever built for in my life, I lost everything. And there I was at 55 years of age then, deciding, what am I going to do? So basically, I locked myself away in my bedroom. So if anybody wants to know about Cheers, Everybody Loves Raymond, followed by Frasier, that's what I did. I didn't open my curtains till 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And then one morning, I actually did get up, and I decided to take a drive up to the Lake District. Everybody been to the Lake District? Yeah. Everybody know the old man of Coniston? Yeah. The beautiful at Coniston Village? Well, I parked my car in a car park, and I walked to the edge of the water. And that's when I sat for 3 hours. And I was trying to decide whether I wanted to walk back to the car park or to walk into the water. I had nothing to live for. Didn't have anybody in my life as such. Got loads of friends, but they were all down the pub. I might see them occasionally. On the outside, people like that didn't realise what I was going through. Because every morning when I did wake up, that black dog was sat in the corner of that room, and it got to me. I'd lost everything, hundreds of thousands of pounds. I'd lost marriage. I'd lost my house. My franchise I had at the time, I lost £90,000 over because I just clammed up and just did everything just went. Well, I'd just lost my mother, who I'd been caring for as well. So everything was going sort of wrong. Now, the thing when I say about having an illness, I didn't realise it at the time, but I'd been diagnosed with a spinal condition a few years before, which was giving me lots of sciatic problems. When I was clearing out my mother's bungalow, I found my father's death certificate from 23 years ago. And he died on the reason for his death was what I'd been diagnosed with. I didn't know that. So all of a sudden, all these things just did not help me over this 3-month period. But anyway, so I'm stood there, decided to go into the water or whether to go back in the car for about 3 hours. And I looked up over the big hills and I realised that the cavalry was not coming. No one was coming over that hill to save me. was only one person that could take responsibility, and that was me. It was all down to me. So let's be honest, whether it was all my fault, whether it had been through redundancy, through business, or my mother being ill, or whatever it could have been, I was that person that was at the scene of the crime for all of the things that happened to me. So I was the one that got to get myself out of this hole. So I got in the car and I drove back to Leeds from the Lake District, and I locked myself away for 4 days. And I started to think back all the positive things in my life, because everything I was talking about was negative. All I was talking about was negatives. And I needed to change. I needed to change. I needed a reason to live and go on. Now, I've always been into self-development, and I did actually do a course in hypnotherapy 20-odd years ago, but for my own personal development, not to teach it. I did a course in NLP at the time, just because I wanted to understand what it was all about, for help me, and it helped me through business and everything, not to teach it, to coach it, or talk about it. And all my speaking experience was done at charities, or at local lodge where I was a member, and things like that. So I'd been used to standing up and speaking, but never had I admitted to people what had gone on in my life. I was all right at doing other things. So the first thing I had to do was admit who I was. I had to accept what had gone on. And until I'd done that, I couldn't move forward. And I needed to appreciate myself. And we all need to appreciate ourselves for what we can do in life. So, as I said earlier, I bought every probably self-development book, Brian Tracy, Tony Robbins, name them all. I bought every one. And I say bought because I'd read bugger all out of all of them. I'd got so far with every one and I'd given up. And I've got shelves full at home. So I decided to come up with my own simple system, which was taking small steps to start with. And I called this system 2468 Motivate. And this is how I change things. If I set goals, like I think Lucille was talking earlier, big goals, I'd do it for a day or 2 days, and it went out the window. I had to start getting back into, I was 16.5 stone, I'm down to 14, I've got a back disorder. So I started to go for a walk, and I started to do 2 miles. And then I moved it to 4 miles, and then up to 8 miles. I did it for 2 days a week, then I'd have a 4-day break. So I did everything in 2s, 4s, and 6s, because I could remember that, because I'm thick. It's so easy to remember. And I've now built this into my own system to help other people. So even if it's in business, I start off by doing it. I didn't open my mail for 6-7 weeks because of the fear of what might be inside it. So I started to open 2 and then 4. And do you know what? It was like a weight had been lifted off my mind when I'd actually done it. What was I worrying about? I started to change my support system. Because it's Jim Rohn that says you become the person of the 5 people you spend your most time with. I was going to the pub. The only time I was speaking to somebody for the first time in a day was to say, I'll have a pint of bitter, please. And that was my support system. I had to change this, so I did it, just as we said, small steps. Roger Bannister, 1958. Yep, 4-minute mile, he broke it. Never been done before. 46 days later, somebody else beat it. He had a pacemaker. The guy that did the marathon under 2 hours, 30 seconds under 2 hours, he had pacemakers. He had people doing the steps for him, doing the small steps. When you see a weightlifter, he doesn't start with the heaviest bar, does he? When you see a high jumper, do they start with it at 18 foot high? No, they start at the bottom. And that's what I had to do with my goals. And that's where I like to come and help people now to do that with their goals. Now, I started my journey as a motivational speaker, whatever. I mean, I've just done my master's NLP now, but for the good of helping other people. But I wanted to use this opportunity for the last 2 minutes I've got left to say a special thank you to Josh and Reese for SPEAKup Challenge. Because one of the things I did was I went on Facebook and I saw their advert and I thought, I can do this. I can speak. I'm not frightened of speaking. I was a musician, a semi-pro musician as well for many years. Played at the Albert Halls, you name it, Concertgebouw in Amsterdam. Played everywhere. So I don't have a problem standing in front of an audience, but I had a problem telling my friends that I wanted to commit suicide. And I had a problem talking to anybody about it. And I didn't have a family as such support system in place. So I joined the SPEAKup Challenge so that I could become the best person that I could be. And that's what you need to do. Now, you'll notice I've given you all there a postcard, or I've handed them out. I'd just like you, I'm actually speaking in a couple of weeks' time into school for some 15 and 17-year-olds. I'd just like you to write on there, because I'm lazy, I don't read all the books. Write on there what you would tell a 15 or 17-year-old now, what you know through your life experience. Follow your goals or whatever. Just sort of write that on while I'm just sort of finishing off, because I've just got about a minute. So just while I'm saying that, I want to go back, obviously, and say, joining that got me to want to talk about things, whether it's about business, whether it's about anything else. And I'd highly recommend it. I've come to the end of my UK tour now, and my first speech was in Leeds Town Hall on, I think, May the 21st. And in the last 6-7 weeks, I've spoken in Newcastle, London twice, Birmingham, Manchester, somewhere else. I'm doing my first workshop, a 2-hour workshop, for 20 people on the 6th of February. Now, one of the things that helped me, I've got some bookmarks here, was I had to write my affirmations down and my goals in simple steps. So if you want to pick one of these up on your way out, free of charge, it's a little bookmark. You can stick it in anything. You read your magazine, and you can write your own things down in your notes as you're going along. My details are on the bottom. If anybody wants a free PDF, please feel free to email me and I'll send you a free PDF. My 10 minutes is up. It's the end of my journey with the SPEAKup UK Challenge with what I've done. Now, you give you the postcard. I lied to you. I'm not going to speak anywhere. I'm not going to some kids. You'll notice it's a postcard. There's a little box for a stamp at the top. There's also a space for the address. I'd like you all to write your own address on the postcard, stick a stamp on it, and post it to yourself. Because where you are today is not where you need to be tomorrow. It doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are. It's never too late to change your life. Thank you.
Kevin, how everybody?
Thank you.